everyone. Welcome back to Squirrel Brain Stories. We're doing the perspective podcasting with my special guest, my husband, Buck. And in the first episode of this, I forgot to mention why I wanted to bring Buck in on this. And, you know, he's played a crucial role in my healing. He's provided me a safe environment that can let me expand my wings and figure out who I am. What do I want to be? What do I want to do? If I say, you know, anything that I say, I want to do this, he's like, okay, go get what you need. Or, you know, like if I wanted to say, I want to be the president, he'll be like, okay, I'll be your campaign manager. It doesn't matter what crazy ideas. I have 3 chickens in my front yard right now. Any idea that I think of that I'm like, I wonder if that's fun or not, you know, because living isolated for so many years, you know, in the cult and then with the second prearranged husband with the second husband, you know, I had security cameras in my house. Every movement was monitored. My daughters had cameras in their bedrooms. Everything was monitored and we were prisoners in our own home. And even though I got away from the cult, I still did not have the opportunity to discover my true identity that had been stripped away. Who am I? What am I? What do I want to do with my life? Who do I want to become? Where do I want to grow? Like I was never able to discover any of that. So Buck has been a crucial role in my development, in my healing, in my journey to recovery. And I really wanted him to be a part of this podcast because I would not be doing this if it wasn't for him. He's given me all of the support and strength that I need to feel safe and in a good place where I can finally get all these secrets out and begin my healing.
Well, I gotta say, it's really fun watching you because so one of the first indications, okay, after we first got together and we were dating for probably 6 months or more than that.
It's about 6 months
before we moved in together. We consolidated our trailer. we decided to move into the big one, and so one of the first things where I was like, this girl is not like anyone else. The first indication was when I think I was at drill, or I might have been up in North Dakota doing some military training at the time. And she decides that she's going to do all the countertops. She had gotten on a TikTok or on YouTube or something and saw.
No, it was just an idea.
It was just an idea. She was going to recover all of the countertops in the trailer. And it involved concrete. Okay. This is not like a wood shop situation. This is like some concrete and staining and concrete stain. I mean, it was a
resin.
Resin was involved. Yes, it was a real. I was like, and you know what? You pulled it off, and I was like,
it looked awesome.
This woman has some talent, and you know, it bothered me a little bit in the episode where you keep talking about your education level because. You haven't told everybody that you have an associate's degree.
Yeah, I got my associate's degree the year we moved down here.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago.
So this whole, I'm not very educated. Listen, the funny thing is she does have a few little speech quirks, but you have to understand she's fully bilingual. And if you've ever talked to anyone else that's bilingual, you know, especially where there's some differences in that. Like I was bilingual for a little bit. I'm not like fluent like you are anymore.
What are you bilingual in?
I speak a little Dutch. So ik kan een beetje Nederlands spreken. But I'm really rusty. It's been, 20 years since I've spoken any of it. But after a while, when you're really immersed in the language, sometimes words get kicked to different spots or sayings are a little different.
And your brain, like my brain, a lot of the time still thinks in Spanish,
Yeah.
Like when I'm driving and someone like does something stupid, I'm like, hijo de puta.
Yeah. We're not going to say it. We're not going to translate that, right?
No, we don't need to.
I mean, I remember when I was really in the culture, I was on my mission in Holland, I would start to dream in Dutch.
Wow.
Yeah. Like when I would understand, I don't think I ever spoke in Dutch in my dream, but I would be dreaming and everyone else was speaking Dutch in my dream. So I understand when you get fully immersed in a culture, and then you come out of it, and we used a thing called Nederangels, and it was my favorite thing to do. And Nederangels is basically like Spanglish,
Okay.
They say Spanglish. So Neder is Netherlands. So Neder is the part of that's what they call it. The country's Nederland. We call it Holland. But anyway, so Nederangels, Engels is English. So it's basically Dutch English. And I would always make up the funniest like sayings. I would directly translate idioms and sayings from English directly into Dutch. And everybody used to laugh at me because it made no sense in Dutch. But she does that sometimes. And she has this funny ability to, what is it? You always like come up with the dirtiest things. Like you can make anything dirty, but it's in a funny way because it's a Spanish way of doing it, right? You explained it to me kind of how there's a lot of like funny things that they say, but
yeah.
Inappropriate,
anyway,
inappropriate stuff. So anyway, I remember just coming back and seeing this and going, this is not a woman that needs help doing anything. Like she can figure out anything on her own. So let's go through the list of all the things that you start. I mean, I don't know if you started before, but that's the first project I remember you doing where you got into something totally different, totally new. And you were like, I'm just going to do this because it's my trailer and I'm going to make it cool. Mm-hmm. So that was was that the beginning of really kind of that journey, or had you dipped your toe into some other things before?
That was it.
Okay. So what are some of the other things that you have done in the last 5 years?
Well, painting.
Yes.
We're waiting for a room to free up so I can have a painting room. Right now I have a lab where I create my bath and body products that I make for my business.
And it is a laboratory. It is not like a room with some supplies in it. This is like a full-on laboratory, isn't it? You want to talk about all the cool equipment you have?
Yeah, blenders and lab plate heaters and, all the chemicals and all the, not chemicals, but all the ingredients. And because I try to keep everything as natural as possible, minus, your preservative.
It's super organized. And oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really kind of a cool spot.
And then the resin.
Yeah, you still do some of that resin stuff.
Yeah.
You make giant resin bowls.
24-inch resin bowls, yeah.
And what kind of painting was it?
Paint pouring.
Paint pouring. Okay, so that's the cool modern art
I have a shaky hand, so I'm not good at like little fine painting. Like that one painting I made for Adria for the baby, the penguins. Yeah. Oh my gosh, all the little, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I just want to chaotic art.
Yeah.
And just, it kind of, I let it do its thing, and what happens.
Could it also have something to do with your little squirrel brain? You get bored of it, the little tiny details, and it just drives you crazy.
Yeah, I don't have patience.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for it. So those are just a few things that you've been interested in. Are there other things that you have on the horizon you're thinking about?
Well, we already got the chickens.
Yes, we dipped our toe into farming.
We're planning a vineyard in the front yard.
We are planning from the fence you tore down.
Yeah.
Listen, we've talked about how ugly the fence was. I want to go on record by saying I was perfectly okay with her out there in a sledgehammer, because otherwise I was going to have to do it. So when she's out there, I was a drill or something, and
you were at annual training.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. And I come back and there's no fence anymore. And there's a small section at the other end.
But that's because Adria kicked me out of the yard. Made me go inside. She's like, you're out here in your flip-flops and your bra and you're all red and you're sweaty. Get your ass inside now.
Yeah. Well, I was happy. And so we were sitting there looking, because we have all these pillars. And
cinder block pillars.
The cinder block pillars, which would take a nightmare to get rid of. So we've been trying to think about what we're going to do.
To not have to remove them.
To not have to, exactly. So we came up with the idea of doing some grapes along there with some trussels, and maybe we'll make some wine.
I know.
Wouldn't that be rebellious of us?
I know.
Did they ever have wine during the sacrament? What did you have for sacrament in the cult?
We didn't do it.
You didn't do sacrament?
Mm-mm.
Did you guys do baptism?
Yes.
So
we would go to the lake.
Oh, so you do it in the lake. And then confirmation, or was there no?
No.
So they kind of picked and choose. It was a pick and choose kind of situation. They didn't follow the Bible directly. Then it sounds like interesting. That was a side note.
So I've been baptized 2 or 3 times now. I've been baptized Catholic.
Oh, were you first baptized Catholic when you were a baby?
No, not when I was a baby.
Oh.
It was with the Vietnamese stepdad.
Oh,
he
interesting.
was Catholic, and he wanted us to be Catholic.
Okay, so you baptized Catholic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe 2 times. Just
and then, okay.
In the cult.
Interesting. Well.
Yeah.
So all of these, I have interests, and I got to do a lot more than you did in my situation. I mean, I was on the swim team. I was a big drama guy. I was in drama, and I'm a big Lego fan. I'm an AFOL right now, an adult fan of Lego, and I have a Lego room in our house. So I'm not without my hobbies. I'm a gamer. But it was nice to see you kind of experimenting. And I never felt like, I felt like you always gave it your best and always gave it as much attention as you wanted. And then if you decided you weren't really super interested in it, it made sense to me because it's experimenting. So what was it about being able to just explore these new hobbies and interests that has kind of helped you think?
Well, they seem to be very therapeutic. Who knew?
I think everybody knows that.
I mean,
but I understand why you didn't.
Yeah, they seem to be really therapeutic, stress relieving. And I found that I probably need something like that in my life. It could get a little chaotic at times, just because kids and animals and adulting 101.
Yeah.
So what was the question again? Sorry, guys.
What was it about the hobbies and things that have helped you recover?
Well, just getting to see what I like. Because I've always been dictated every aspect of my life, what you wear, what you think, what you do, how your day goes. Like I've never had the opportunity to be like, I'm going to bead or I'm going to, whatever. Like I was never given that opportunity to explore because like I said, my identity was stripped from me. So I have no idea what I like. I have no idea, like I'm still trying new foods, and, I still don't know what all I like, I don't have a bucket list per se, but I just figure if something seems like, that might be fun. Well, I want to try. I want to see if it's fun.
It's interesting that another one of your little hobbies that you dipped your toe into and then decided it was way too many rolls.
Oh my
gosh. The
gosh.
sourdough situation.
Yes.
I get it. I mean,
it sounded fun.
But man,
there's too many rules.
And it takes too long, right? Growing that stuff. I was right there with you. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? This seems like a lot of work. But it's interesting that one of your hobbies you were trying out has led to you opening up emotionally. Because that was really the spark.
The sourdough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say that the hobbies were keeping you busy so you didn't think about it, because I feel like it was a valid part of your recovery.
Yeah. And we've talked about it a lot, like either a book or a podcast or some way of telling my story.
Yeah.
And so I knew it would happen one day. I just, I didn't pressure it. I just knew that things would just kind of happen when they happen. Yeah. And so when I started following Emily Lewis, the sourdough lady, I only started following her shortly before you went on your annual training. It had been like a couple weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this lady makes it look so easy. And then once I was like, okay, she can do it, I can do it. Because, there's nothing that I never tell myself, oh, you can't do that. That's too hard. No, if like I get an itch, I'm like, that looks easy. I could do that too.
And you have been able to figure out everything that I've ever seen thrown at you. Like, it's remarkable. I never have to mansplain anything to you. In fact, I have to have you explain things to me most of the time.
No.
So one thing that I haven't really been able to connect, which is I understand the process of, you're watching a podcast, you're like, you're somebody doing a TikTok, and you're like, oh, I can do this. This is easy. So that opens up a door that says, I can tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the spark? What was the thing? Do you know what it was that actually opened that? What was it that broke open when you were out there just getting all your anxiety out or your emotion outside?
Well, first it was recognizing that I could do it. Because the whole time I had been telling myself, like, oh, I'm not a good writer. My grammar's not good. My words are always backwards because I think a lot in Spanish still. And, I don't have experience with podcast stuff. And, it just seems so complicated. But once I was like, okay, I can do that, then this door opened that let me feel all those emotions that had been hidden away, that had been locked away, that I didn't even realize I still had them because they were buried so deep, because I was doing everything. My mind was doing whatever it could to keep those locked away. But once I took that first step and was like, okay, I can do this, then that door came flying open, and it was like, oh shit, like, yeah. I have all this anger and like all this shame and like grief and all of these emotions that I didn't even know that I had hidden away.
So were you going through the story that you were going to tell in your head? And then as you were going through it, as you were thinking about it, or it just kind of opened up all at once?
It just opened up all at once and like came rushing in like a broken dam.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then, it was, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. It was very overwhelming. Yeah. Because, we were trained we didn't have a voice. Our emotions weren't validated. We weren't supposed to be sharing our emotions at all. No one, that was worldly, that was fleshly. Yeah. Giving into emotions, was just a sin. So, I never really had the opportunity to like feel all of these emotions and process them. And I think that's what I was doing. I think I was processing all these different emotions that I had blocked away and locked up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it happened because I feel like
now I can finally begin the healing journey.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a very cool. I mean, I wish I would have been here to help you and comfort you, but I'm glad you have your BFF.
Yeah, and the girls were here too.
That's true. The girls were there. So you weren't alone.
No.
So I want to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about, so we talked about you as a preteen and how you had no structure in your life. And we've talked a little bit, I don't know if we've mentioned the difference between structure and absolute control, but do you feel like that as a young adult, or as actually a preteen, I should say, being a feral child, that it made it because you needed that structure? And I think anybody who's taken a parenting class knows that that's very important for children's growth and their development, is to have structure and routine. Mm-hmm. And so do you think that was, the cult did that in an extreme way, but is that made the transition a little easier than it could have been?
It felt like that there was all this control and, beyond structure, the excessive control, but it felt like because they cared about me.
Yeah.
Because they were like parenting me,
Because someone was paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's another thing.
And I grasp onto that so easily. Like
Yeah.
I didn't hold back. When I was told what I had to do, I was like, okay, I was extremely compliant.
Yeah. And I think that really speaks to the kind of person you always were. When you think about little Angie running around,
Getting in all this trouble.
Yeah, but I don't think of it like that because I know you so well. I think of it like, no, she just had no guidance. And the proof of it is that when she got to this cult that was extremely controlling, you didn't try to run away. You immediately folded right into it. You weren't rebellious.
Mm-mm.
You were just unstructured.
It felt like a family.
Yeah.
That I didn't have.
Interesting. And I think there's another thing, when we talk about your second husband, there's another thing that's called repetition compulsion that they talk about in psychiatry. And it's like a PTSD response.
Okay.
So repetition compulsion is where you move from one situation into something very similar because it's safer feeling to you than the unknown. In this case, the unknown would be you on your own, or you just not having anyone to tell you what to do or to guide you. In his case, a very controlling situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that maybe was what made that jump to someone else super controlling kind of happen?
Yeah, I think that I was conditioned for that to be normal. And so that was what was normal. And that's what I was looking for because that was the only structure I knew that was normal.
Yeah. It's funny. I've noticed that in little ways. So, I think that if we both looked at our exes, we're definitely have been the ones that are a little more compliant and kind of the ones that have been told what to do a lot, or we not necessarily always controlled, but it's definitely we're the recipients of that. We have been.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find interesting is now it can be a little tricky. Like, you always hear that joke about how, the husband's sitting there and his wife wants to go out to eat. And where do you want to go to eat? And they just is back and forth about they can't decide where they want to go to eat. It's a constant thing in our house.
Except for sometimes I'm like, I want Jimmy John's.
Well, there are once in a while, yes. Give me some Jimmy John's right now. I mean, it helps that you're the cook in the family and that you are such an incredible cook, by the way.
Thank
she
you.
can cook everything and it's crazy.
I used to
It's
own
amazing.
a food cart.
Yeah. We'll talk about the food cart too. We got to go into that because I've never seen somebody as good of a cook. And you're a chef because you don't measure stuff. You just put it together and you just know and it always tastes amazing. So anyway, but it helps that she's the cook because then I don't have to decide what we're having for dinner because it would be a back and forth. Like, where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? Like, so we do have some problems. It's good though, because it's helped me kind of maybe man up a little bit more and be like, okay, we're going to do this.
Or push me a little more. Like, okay, you got two choices. Either this or
right.
narrow it down.
Yes, exactly. So we've had to kind of work around that. And I think that makes sense that when you've conditioned to never having to make a decision,
mm-hmm.
you kind of need
you don't know how to make decisions.
Right. It makes it tricky. And one of those things, there's something called learned helplessness, which is when you have a controlling partner or a violent one, you unconsciously feel that it's the only way to operate because your very well-being depends on external authority. And I think that that's kind of what we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
It's it's the repetition compulsion, which is moving from one safe place into unsafe place into another unsafe place because that's what you know.
It's familiar.
It's familiar.
You feel safe there, even if you aren't safe.
Right. And it really, the whole thing is just a reduction of your autonomy, which is like yourself. You don't even know who you are, which is what we've kind of talked about. You've had to rebuild all that.
Yeah, I still am.
Now, one of the things that I find interesting, because it was very much another country within our country. So they operated very much like they do in Mexico. They talked like they do in Mexico. Even like the room situation, it sounds to me like there was a lot of that in Mexico with like the whole families, huge families in one room. So it's very much a cultural difference. Now, you're a little white girl from Portland, and you don't speak. Do you think that the language, was that just something you had to overcome, or was it like used as a weapon or a barrier for you, where you couldn't really protest because you didn't know what was going on until you were already fully immersed?
Well, when people saw you picking up the language so quickly, you were not praised, but you're like, you're doing good job. You know, like, I don't know. They made it feel important. Like they made you feel special, you know?
So it made you want to try harder and work harder at that.
Yeah.
So you overcame that barrier pretty quickly. Once you were immersed into that, was there situations where you were able to hear things that maybe they didn't know you were going to hear? Or
I think I was oblivious to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just kind of kept your head down.
Yeah, reading my Bible.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the identity erasure, because that's another component in a lot of these cults and a lot of, especially in this situation where, you know, you just had your identity stripped away. But it's much more, it's much more dramatic in your situation, because it's almost like you were taken to another country, put with people that you didn't know, all strangers. So it wasn't like the family, you know, or these other cults where it's like they called themselves the family. I don't know if people who know will know it. But, you know, these other cults where it's like, oh, we're a bunch of hippies and we're smoking reefer and we're sitting out there and talking about God, and we grew up together, or we've been on this compound for a while. You know, this is a situation where you're just thrown into this group. Your identity is completely stripped away. Do you think that made you more susceptible to falling into to following him and not having any kind of protesting or any kind of pushback?
Well, I think, yeah, because with such the early age that I was there and not having a parent at home parenting me, I don't think I even really knew, like, I hadn't gone through my experimental age. Like, who am I? What am I dressing goth? Or, I hadn't gone through any of that, So I didn't really know I don't think I even knew what my identity, I don't think I had developed my identity yet, or, my autonomy. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't even remember, thinking as a kid, how kids always say, like, I'm going to be a firefighter. I never remember any of those thoughts, like ever thinking I was going to be anything.
Wow. I was always pretty indecisive. Like, if I really got down to what I wanted to be, like, I had no clue. Even in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kind of fell into my career on accident. Like, really, because I'm a graphic designer, so but I'm not an artist. And one of the reasons for that was my best friend from the time I was like 6 years old was an incredible artist. Mm-hmm. He became an architect. Oh, cool. And he could draw everything, anything. So it never occurred to me to go into the art field of any kind, because I'm creative in my brain. But once computers came along, when I was in college, computers came out and I was like, oh, I can do this. Because, you put a mouse in my hand and I can do anything. Yeah. But you put a pencil in my hand, I'm going to draw stick figures. So some of us come to what we want to be later in life. But it's interesting when you look at how extreme your situation in the cult. It's unlike anyone else I've ever heard. This is not a typical story. So your identity is stripped away. That we're talking about where you live, your family's gone, so you're completely isolated on your own. And being on your own at 13 anywhere is crazy scary. Like just by yourself. Like if you're in a mall or something and you don't know where the rest of your family is and you're like 12, 13. I mean, if you know your way around the mall, maybe, but you're in a house with 50 people, 50, 60 people who don't even speak your language. And then over the years, like all the things that culturally as Americans, we celebrate, whether it be holidays, birthdays, celebrations of any kind is gone. Mm-hmm. So you don't have any kind of, and you talked about that a little bit where, we were trying to figure out why that's significant. And, as we celebrate, because I always had Christmas, I always had birthdays, Valentine's Day. My ex-wives wanted to make sure, I always put on a Valentine's Day thing because that's what you do, that's what I grew up with. And, with you, it's been kind of like, do you want to tell them the one terrible thing about it? So listen, we're also the kind of people, we're also a little bit, I wouldn't say chameleons, but we kind of like morph into each other. So we pick up the mannerisms. We're very empathetic. So we kind of pick up the mannerisms of each other. So when she's just like, anniversaries aren't a big thing. Well, anniversaries have been a huge thing my entire life. Like my parents always celebrated anniversary. Every one of my wives, I had to come up with a crazy anniversary gift. Do you want to tell them what we did 2 years ago?
You forgot.
We literally forgot our own anniversary, both at the same. And then I don't know who remembered.
You did.
Think I did, because I'm always the one that remembers. Like, oh, it's someone's birthday coming up. Or, oh, it's just because it's I've been conditioned that way. And she doesn't remember. You don't remember anything, or you don't necessarily put a whole lot of stock in it because you just don't have those kind of memories and that kind of. But yeah, we forgot our anniversary. We made up for it, but it was like, what is the date right now? And we looked at it and it was like October. We're like, I think we forgot our anniversary, babe. You're like, oh. Yeah, it was kind of embarrassing for us both, I think. More so for me, because I felt like I was a complete failure as a husband. But you were like, whatever. You're my favorite. So I think that's a big part of the trauma is identity erasure. And that's why this, you exploring hobbies and you really getting to know yourself is really part of that journey. When someone isn't telling you something all the time, you can just come up with something you see and I'm going to try that. And you try it. And I love seeing it because it's, I don't want to be, I'm not interested in all that stuff. My hobbies are pretty fixed at this point in my life. Like I have way too many already, but my main hobby is supporting you, I think.
Thank you.
So one of the other things that I thought was an interesting point to recap was, and I don't know if it was a real psychologically done on purpose, but boy, did it fit the narrative, is the food control and the connection between that. Do you think that I know it was like it sounds like it was done out of necessity. Just
to feed that many people.
But the fact is there was money enough to supplement the donations, to make it so that it was better food, good food. Where do you think, did that come from laziness? Was it done on purpose by the leader? Withholding any funds, like making you guys ask the working brothers for some meat every once in a while? And like, was that done on purpose? Was he just lazy?
No, I think it was done on purpose because, if we figured out how to make dinner for 100 people, then, with what we had, then we were trusting that God was going to provide for us what we needed.
That's what he said. But do you think he believed that, or was it just him being
No.
raised like, you guys figure it out for yourselves?
Oh yeah, because him and his family, they always ate out at restaurants. They were always bringing to-go bags. Like they would shop only at Nordstrom's.
So this is a rules for thee, not for me kind of situation. Did anybody ever call him out on the hypocrisy? Because that just gets my goat every time I see it.
Not that I heard. Not that I ever heard of.
No. Nobody
No
ever
one had the
dared.
guts.
Or nobody even said it in passing or whispered. Or they're just like, yeah, we're terrible. We're dirty, rotten people. We need to work for everything we get. Like it was just, they really put you in a servant mindset, kind of.
And then, you eat all this crap food and then you gain a bunch of weight and then you're shamed because you're gaining too much weight.
Yeah. And it's not
like, what else are you supposed to do? You're 12, 13 years old and all there is to eat is sheet cakes and muffins.
Yeah.
Cupcakes. Like, how could you not gain weight?
Yeah. Well, and it's besides the weight, it also, there's a mental decline that happens when you eat that kind of food all the time. It makes you sluggish and your brain doesn't work as quickly. So, I mean, that's another, whether he was smart enough to know that's what was happening or not, or if he was just doing it to be a dick, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that definitely worked in his favor to make everybody sluggish and stop questioning things. Because if you've eaten nothing but pastries or bread for like a week, you're going to feel like total shit.
Oh yeah. No, I try to stay away from that stuff because I definitely can feel it. Like I don't feel good after I eat too many crap starches.
No. And the malnutrition that goes along with that. I mean, you can think malnutrition, you're thinking like, oh, the starving kids in Africa, but try staying on a diet of bread and pastries for a month and tell me how awful you're going to feel. At least the guy that did it with McDonald's, he was eating some beef every once in a while and some potatoes, I mean.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think that episode when you talked about the McDonald's situation.
Oh my gosh.
It really is a very clear example of how, Ruiz was using it as psychological warfare. It really was deliberate in that case, for sure.
Completely.
And control. And that doesn't end with him, does it? No, it doesn't. It gets even worse. So we're going to talk about that. But those are the main kind of things I wanted to kind of circle back around and touch base on. And, it's pretty remarkable. One of the things I really want to point out is, and I know you've heard this, that people have heard this saying in movies and TV shows, but the resilience of the human spirit. Because when I look at you and I see everything you've been through, and I see what an incredible, amazing, beautiful person you are, inside out, top to bottom, it just gives me hope that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your background is. You can rise above it and don't use it as a crutch. Yep. You never have used it as a crutch. You use it as like a party trick. Like we're at a party, you're like, hey, I grew up in a cult. And everybody's like, oh, tell me more, But it's never once have you used it as a crutch.
No.
And, the other thing I really want to point out that I think is not really mentioned, but, as children, when you look at your parents, and if anybody who is young watching this or has parents that have been through trauma that you know of, the fact of the matter is you don't know a tenth of what they've gone through, because your parents, your mother especially, in most cases, that's where the trauma is coming from, has protected you from that and shielded you from that. And so I think that's something important that your children, I hope, understand, that, they can blame you. They can say all the stupid things that we've talked about. When did you leave? Which is the dumbest thing anybody Listen to the story. How about you ask some questions? Ask your mother, ask the person who's gone through this trauma what they went through. And if they want to talk about it, they will, but you have to assume that it's a lot worse than you'll ever know.
It's like what I would always tell the girls when they were little. They'd come home from school and, Mom, this person is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't react, just ignore them. Because you don't know what that person has going on in their life. Maybe their grandma just died. Maybe their dad just left. Maybe they don't have any food at home. Maybe they're sleeping out on a park bench. You don't know. So don't react. Don't feed into what is going on with them. You don't know what they have going on. And you reacting, it's just incompassionate. You just have to be compassionate and empathetic, and you don't know their story. So, why start raising hell at people that, look at you the wrong way or say something under their breath that you don't like? Just ignore them. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters.
Well, I mean, I use your trick all the time. Usually when I'm driving and somebody cuts me off or does something, I can get a little bit of road rage. Not too bad, but I curse and say a few F-bombs here and there. But I will always go, I bet that guy's really late to work. And it's like he's had 2 other dings against him. And if he gets one more, he's going to be fired. Like I'll make up some story in my head.
Or I like to use the example, I bet he has diarrhea.
That's even better because then it makes you smile. Like he's going to shit his pants on the way.
I know. He's like in a hurry because he's about to shit himself.
So I want to end with that there's luckily in this day and age, the bully culture has been kind of exposed, and we don't like bullies and nobody likes bullies, but it's also like, well, why is that person a bully and what's going on? Reach out if someone is mean to you, or reach out and talk to them, because you might find a friend. And you might find out that...
Or even a smile,
or a smile. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a friend, but just like, don't judge too harshly, because you don't know everyone's story. Mm-hmm. And what's that old saying? Walk a mile in my shoes or whatever. You don't know until you've walked a mile in their shoes, right?
No, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. I'm full of useless trivia.
But it's good because I don't know any of it.
We're getting you there. So that's all I have, babe.
Okay. Well, we will leave it there for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.